Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Book Talk, etc. YouTube channel. We are so glad you're here as always. And these videos are our way of adding a little bit of something extra to the podcast. And we love connecting with you in the comments. So this week, tell us the books that you are desperate to get to before the end of the year, why you haven't got to them, and all of the fun thoughts you have while listening to our episode. Because this week we are reading books that we have been putting off for a while. So enjoy the show.
What?
I love how I'm like, I'll dive right in. I don't have it pulled up. I got nothing. Hold on. Okay. Welcome to Book Talk, etc., a podcast bound to grow your TBR. I'm Tina from TBR, etc.
And I'm Hannah from Handpicked Books.
This is a conversational podcast about books and more from two Midwest mood readers who are easily distracted by new releases. And this week we read books that we've been putting off all year.
If you enjoy listening, we'd love for you to follow us on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. And if you have a quick minute, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or sharing us on social media. It truly helps us connect with other book lovers.
Hey, everyone, before we jump into the show, I just wanted to let you know that we will be taking a little tiny break, so you will not receive a new episode the week of Thanksgiving on that Tuesday, but we hope you have a wonderful holiday, and we will be back in early December to talk all things end of the year reading. If you are a patron, you can expect our normal bonus content, and if you are not a patron and want to sign up, on December 4th, we will be live reacting to the Goodreads Choice Award winners, and we can't wait to chat with you all then. I don't know. Did I get everything?
Nice plug. That was good.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. I was like, okay, quick, say something about being off. So
I was like, did you do that last minute? Nice.
I did. It came from my brain, which sometimes it's better for me to just talk on the fly and not have things written down.
Not overthink it.
Not overthink it. And that is certainly the case this week because I felt like I had not even so much to say about my books, because honestly, I don't want to spoil it, but these were easy books to talk about, put it that way. So I felt like I didn't need to put too much into it. But how have you been?
Oh, wow. I feel like we're changing up the format a little bit. I ask you how you're doing.
Oh, okay.
I like this.
I was like, what did I do? What did I do?
No, it's okay. I'm doing good. I am getting excited for holidays coming up. We have some kind of different fun plans that we're doing this year, and it's beautiful today. I think we're getting like our last couple really nice 50, 60 degree weather days right now, which is just lovely. But how are you?
Same here. We have a record-breaking day coming tomorrow, the weekend, as we're recording this. So I'm excited to get a couple more days of nice weather. It was so funny. I was talking to somebody today. They live in Arizona. And they were like, oh, what's the temperature? And I'm like, oh, it's like, I don't know, 55. And he was
so
like,
warm.
Oh, he's like, I'd be shivering. And I was like, it's perspective, right? Because I go outside with no coat in 55 degree weather. But yeah, we've definitely had our fair share of ups and downs. And, it's going to be pretty cold from here on out. But such is life.
Yep. Yeah, today I took a little walk right before we recorded, actually, and I wore some biker shorts and a crew neck, and I was getting warm.
Oh,
so
that is my actual favorite outfit to wear. That's my number one favorite, is a biker short and a crew neck sweatshirt, oversized. There's a crisp in the air. It's actually 60 right now in Chicago. So I miss warm. That's heat wave.
That's
Tomorrow's
balmy.
Going to be 65, and then it goes back into the 40s and 50s for a high, but I will take it. I'm going to be sure to go outside and walk around tomorrow.
And on a Saturday.
Since we're speaking about the Midwest, I'll go ahead and dive right into my Loving Lately, because my Loving Lately is an Etsy shop that is out of Rochester, Indiana. So they're fellow Midwesterners. Nice. It's called Mystical Outpost, and they sell incense. So this is actually a Loving Lately courtesy of my husband, Jonathan. He is such an incense burner. And one day there was this box on my table. I'm like, what is this? No, it was not even the box. He was walking around the house with this incense stick, sort of like smudging the rooms. And I was like, what are you doing? What spurred this? And so I guess he had found this and made a big order from them. And what's great about this is they are hand dipped incense. They have cones, they have sticks, and they have a ton of scents. They're also very reasonable. You can get 25 sticks for $2.30. I mean, it's like a great price, and they have a ton of different options. They also come in 50 and 100, and they sell candles as well. And they've been around for a while. It says they have over 20 years of experience making candles and incense, and you can tell. And what I like about this, the scents aren't overpowering, but they smell like incense. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Mm-hmm.
feels like you're burning something nice. I also bought some from Five Below recently, and I feel like those just burn out so quickly. And the scent is fine, but it's just nothing special. These definitely feel more special, and they're a little bit longer lasting, especially there's like these little sticks that I got, and they burn a while. Hold on. And Jonathan, he's so funny. He sent me this long text right before we started recording about these because I was asking him about the incense. And he like wrote my script for me. And he's like, I feel like you can really tell they're hand dipped because of the grittiness. Some of them are still not dried upon arrival, but you just have to leave them out for a bit and get them all the way dry. But it's nice because you feel like you're getting something that's like crafted with care. And again, the burn on these is pretty slow. Like I said, they have other stuff in their shop like roll on perfume, candles, wax for warmers, etc. He is a man of discerning taste, especially when it comes to incense. And I too enjoy this. So I wanted to bring it to the show. I'm also going to show you something that we bought. So every year in Chicago, there's a Christkindl market, which is a Chicago German market. And so we always buy like one nice gift for the house every year. So I'll show you on my video here and tell you about it. It's this bear. We actually have two. We have a bear and a wolf, and they are hand carved wood incense burners, and they are the most special things that I own. Okay, maybe not the most, but they're up there. So we take our incense very seriously in this household. So my loving lately has been the Mystical Outpost incense, and you can get it on Etsy.
I love that you brought this, and I love that name for a shop.
Mystical Outpost. I know.
Mystical Outpost.
For
Like,
some
I'm
reason,
so
you say it, it
intrigued.
sounds so nice. I was like having a hard time. I'm like, mythical, because I want to say mythical. That's what I want
Mythical.
to say, and that's not right.
Mystical.
Mystical, mystical.
Oh, I love that. And you said that you had these like handcrafted incense burners, holders. What are they called?
Yes. They're like handcrafted wood incense
Did
figurines.
did you have a
They're really
family
big.
member make them, or did you
No, we
purchase
got them at
those?
the market. We got them at the
Oh,
Christkindl
you
market.
mentioned
Maybe I
that.
didn't make the
I'm so
connection.
no,
I
I
mentioned the market, but I didn't say. So every year from the Christkindl market, that's what
that's
we
where you
get.
get those.
Maybe not a helpful recommendation if you're not local to Chicago, but if you are local, go to the market. They are handcrafted and they're fantastic. Like they're just so nice.
Oh, I need to be a better listener. Shame on me. Okay.
It's
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure you
okay.
made that pretty clear. Okay. Moving on to my loving lately, which is really simple. And I don't have a ton to say about it, but I genuinely have been using this every single day. And it is a waterproof shower Bluetooth speaker. If
Mhm.
you do not have one of these, you've got to get one. It makes listening to things additional to audiobooks for me so much more manageable because oftentimes I want to listen to other things like podcasts and things like that, and finding the time, set aside time to do that is challenging with busy schedules. And I love having this as an option to listen to a serialized podcast or even just music. I love listening to music and finding time to do that, especially the kind of music I like listening to isn't always, kid appropriate. So,
Mm.
having that me time is essential because I can actually get everything done that I need to in the bathroom without getting bored or not wanting to do it, which is a big deal for me. It's a big
I
deal
feel
for me.
you. I
I'm
feel
like,
you.
I do
Mhm.
not want to like shave both of my legs. Are you kidding me? That
You
is
need to be
just
entertained.
I need to be
Let's make this a fun
entertained.
experience.
Exactly. And this has been so helpful, and you can get them at a really affordable price now. I've had mine for years and it cost me like 25 bucks, and we still use
Mhm.
it. We just charge it up, and it's lasted for a few years at this point. So that is my loving lately. I have been loving it and it's helping me stay clean. I mean, who can argue with that? That's
What's
the
not to
water
like?
what's not to like? That is the waterproof shower Bluetooth speaker.
I thought you were going to say you listen to audiobooks in the shower. And I was like,
I actually don't like
now
doing
you're
that.
onto something. Yeah. I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could.
So, something weird, and I don't know if other people experience this, like if it's a universal thing or if it's a me thing, but I can listen to an audiobook on faster speed in my ears or using headphones. If I am in the car or listening to
Mhm.
it on this
Mhm.
waterproof Bluetooth speaker, I have to slow it down. If it's external outside of my ears, I have to slow down the speed.
I bet it's because when you have your headphones on, it's like less distracting. And then when
Yeah.
you're listening to it out in the open, there's like people and there's other
Traffic.
cars. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder if
Yeah.
that's the reason. But I wonder if I'm the same way. I feel like once I'm into it, I'm okay with that. But that's an interesting observation. I don't know that I've ever noticed if my listening speed differs. The only thing I've noticed is I cannot start an audiobook at 2.0. No, thank you. I started at
Yes,
1.75.
same. Right.
And then once I get the players, I will go ahead and bump it up to 2. And I usually stick at 2. Anything more than that for me, I'm like, okay, what am I doing here? Like, unless I like have
I
to read it
right.
by a specific time, which is so rare. But anyway, fun with audiobooks there. Let's do latest reads. What do you say? I mean, I feel like now's the time, as always. Okay. All right. My latest read is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. When I tell you, I was not expecting to enjoy this. I am so serious. I actually thought I had read this before, but I hadn't. I read Best Day Ever by Kyra Rhoda, which is a different book, but for some reason I was conflating the two, and I did not care for that one from Kyra Rhoda. The reason I picked this one up, you may know, I'm trying to read through all of the Goodreads Choice Thriller Award nominees. And so I knew that The Perfect Divorce was likely going to be on it because it had so many reviews. So I'm like, I've never read The Perfect Marriage. Let me do this in anticipation of the long list being released. So I grabbed The Perfect Marriage and had very low expectations. And I have been pleasantly surprised. What this is about is a husband and wife who have what looks on the surface to be the perfect marriage. Sarah Morgan is a successful and powerful defense attorney. They live in Washington, D.C., and she's only 33. And she has been named partner, which is unheard of. And her life is going exactly how she planned. But unfortunately, the same cannot be said for her husband, Adam. He is a struggling writer who has had little success in his career, but they've been together since undergrad. And so, they sort of are still together, still love each other, but they're at very different places in their life. And then Adam, unfortunately, has a wandering eye, and they have a second home, and he decides to engage in an affair. And then, and then one morning, everything changes when Adam is arrested for his mistress's murder because she has been found stabbed to death in Adam and Sarah's second home. And Sarah, wouldn't you know it, is a defense attorney. And so she is now faced with the task of defending her own husband of murder, and that's basically it. What a great premise. I mean, truly a fantastic premise. And I will say for this one, it's a great popcorn read. It really is. It has 1.1 million ratings on Goodreads, which is an insane number of people who have rated and reviewed this book. I think if you like popcorn thrillers, I think you should go for it. I really found Sarah to be this entertaining character. I was very entertained by her. She is not your typical woe is me, what am I going to do type character. She is a boss for a reason. And I feel like when I was reading this the entire time, I was just thinking about Geneva Rose as a person and how she is on TikTok. And I was picturing the main character of this book as her. Like they looked the same in my mind's eye. And for this one, I think you will be pleasantly surprised if you stick with it. Because kind of in the beginning, you're like, okay, I feel like I know where I'm going or what I'm getting with this one. But boy, oh boy, was I delighted by the end. I really liked the whole thing all the way around. And again, I wasn't expecting to, I guess, enjoy it as much as I did. So shame on me for going in with a less than stellar attitude. I'm going to just go ahead and say that I did read The Perfect Divorce and I liked it a lot. I liked it just as much as The Perfect Marriage. And I loved reading those two pretty much back to back because The Perfect Marriage ends, The Perfect Divorce picks up 10 years later, but you're still seeing a lot of the same characters that you saw from the first one, and you're still getting a lot of the same overlap. So for me, I was like, fantastic. I'm up to date. I know who all of these people are. I didn't, I kind of just went right into it. I really loved both of them, and I'm quite happy having read these because I've tried Geneva Rose a couple times. I read one of hers and liked it. I read a few others in DNF. So I'm really happy that both The Perfect Marriage and The Perfect Divorce worked for me. So you're getting a 2-for-1 here with my latest reads, and that is The Perfect Marriage and Perfect Divorce by Geneva Rose.
Love the double review. Look at
Double
you
review. Look at me
go.
go. I figure I'm not going to bring the Perfect Divorce to its own, show.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
anyway,
My
that's what I have to say.
my my latest read is surprising to me because it is a collection of poetry, and I really don't read poetry very often. I would say that I read maybe one or two collections a year. I do enjoy it, but I'm a little pickier with them. And this particular collection is Climate by Whitney Hansen. And I had actually never heard of this poet before. Apparently, she has a really large Instagram following, a social following, and is pretty popular. But I actually saw this book on my parents' office desk and started reading it. And then I was really enjoying it. And so I just, popped it in my little work bag. Sorry, mom and dad. And I took it home to finish it. I will bring it back and place it on the office table for them. But this collection is about the only constant thing in life, which is change. Climate is a journey in embracing change both internally and externally and guides its readers through all of the weather they face, from heartbreak to the storms we create inside our brain. And it reminds readers to embrace the sun, the storm, and the rain. And most importantly, it emphasizes the beauty, value, and consistency of change. The poetry collection was divided into sections like foggy, stormy, and then at the very end, it landed on a section just titled Climate that kind of wraps the entire theme of the collection in a bow at the end with this overarching theme of climate and change at the very end of the collection. I thought that these poems were lovely. I think that this poet does a wonderful job putting really universal experiences in short stanzas and sometimes even one sentence that will really just capture a very complex feeling or human experience in a simplistic but maybe really punchy or poignant way. This collection was about love, about healing, about grief, and honestly, just every emotion that you could think of, including the positive ones. This wasn't just a sad collection of poetry, which tend to be the ones that I am personally drawn to, but I like that this one also focused on all of those good human experiences as well. And all of it was really just a metaphor for how climate is constantly shifting, just like our lives and the seasons that are in them. I recommend not rushing this collection. I think I read through it a little too quickly, but I would recommend maybe reading this one a section at a time or maybe a few poems at a time and really thinking about them. I think if you're a journaler, a lot of these would make really great journal prompts. And I flagged a couple that I think I would like to use for some journal prompting myself. So, overall, this was the first and probably only poetry collection that I will be reading this year. And I'm really glad that it was this one. I really enjoyed it. And that was Climate by Whitney Hansen.
I, I mean, color me surprised. I would not have expected you to bring a poetry collection.
Well, and part of it was because I read a book last week that I just did not think that I could bring to the show. I really, really, really didn't like it.
Mm.
And I just didn't feel comfortable talking about it. And when I found this collection, I was like, you know what? What a great palate cleanser. What a great opportunity
Yes.
to find something else that I can talk about on the main show. So if you're a patron, you might hear about this other book on one of our bonus episodes, but yeah, still deciding.
Still deciding. I know sometimes it's like, this is so hard to talk about. I
It's
don't know if I
so
want
hard.
to.
Yeah.
I like the cover of this climate book, though. It's very interesting.
Isn't
It's
it
like
pretty?
this. Yeah, it's really neat. I haven't seen much like that. But
Oof.
good on you for stretching your, for for
For
giving yourself
stretching.
a little bit of a brain, not a brain break, but like giving yourself a little boost after what probably sounded like a pretty tough read.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we are talking today about books that we. Okay, so initially, these were supposed to be books that we wanted to read before the end of the year. Initially, we were going to do all 2025 releases because I don't know about you, listeners, or you, Hannah. For me, I'm like, okay, I definitely want to read some of the big buzzy books in the year they're published for no real reason. They will still be there, but in my head, I just have it. I'm like, I want to read it in the year they're published just to see what I think about it because they might be on awards lists, etc. So initially they were going to be 2025 releases. And then I read a book that changed my brain chemistry that was a backlist. And I'm like, never mind. Can we change it to just books that we want to read before the end of the year? So thank you for letting me pivot a little bit.
Uh-huh. I'm really glad that we ended up making that change too, because actually both of the books that I am bringing today are backlist. And I decided to do that
Amazing.
because of the switch that we made. And both of the picks I am so excited to talk about. And
Mm-hmm.
this episode was just a really, really good reminder for me overall.
A good reminder that guess what, you can read backlist books. Like you don't
Hmm.
need to read all frontlist all the time. I
And they
feel
can
like
be
it's
five
my problem.
stars.
And they could be 5 stars. I know. And I think too, especially with backlist, the appeal of it is they've got this longevity where you've got a lot of
Hmm.
readers. You can kind of trust, I think, people's opinions a little bit more because they've, if they didn't stand the test of time, we're probably not going to be hearing about them
Right,
anymore. Or,
exactly.
there's not going to be much, I don't know, out there about it. And I chose to do one backlist and then one that actually comes out today as of this
That's
listen when
exciting.
you're listening, it's out today. So I'm really, really excited about that. So it sounds like you went backlist for this. So I'm wondering if for next year you're thinking maybe you would focus a little bit more on backlist or you want to make it a priority?
Yes. Yes.
I
And
like it.
I feel like I say that every year. And then I get a little frustrated with myself for
Yeah.
reading front list. But
Right.
also, I do really want to like over the summer, and especially we do those summer bonanza, and
Right.
I do also really want to maybe partake in a couple more challenges next year, like maybe think about what's going to be on the Goodreads Choice Awards books throughout the
Mhm.
year and things
Mhm.
like that. So I think I'll wrap up my thought with saying that next year I just want to be more balanced in my reading
Yeah.
and think
Mhm.
more about having like a 50-50 of front list and back list, which is hard to do.
Yeah. Was it the same way before you started to do the podcast? Or were you
I think this is a question I grapple with every single year, even
It's
before
hard
the
to remember
podcast.
life before. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Got you.
No, even before the podcast, it was like this internal fight and battle that I have
Uh-huh.
with
Uh-huh.
myself every year of, oh, I really want to read more backlist, but I also really want to read more frontlist too. And remembering I can do both. I can just have this balanced reading life that I might not have to even overthink so much, just be a little intentional and,
I don't know about
go
that.
from there. But I always end up
Oh,
overthinking it and then kind of being frustrated.
so I wonder for backlists why it's hard to prioritize them. For me, it's because I forget about them. They go on the ephemeral TBR and they
Yeah.
sort of get lost over there. So what I would like to do is like you said be more intentional about things but also keep a better handle on what is actually on my TBR list.
Yes.
Because right now, actually I've done a pretty good job. I think the way that I'm doing it, I think I've said this before, Goodreads is my catch all, anything goes. Maybe I
Yep.
won't read it, but it's sort of, hey, I'm interested, or other people might be interested to know about this. Whereas on Storygraph, that one's more for me. And I plan to go in and audit. I audited it once this year when we did our who knows what episode, but we sort of did an episode where I think we were picking books from our TBR maybe. And I
Mhm.
took off a ton of them. And that was a really fun exercise because I'm like, okay, you know, it's not for me right now. Maybe it'll come back to me and maybe it won't. But that's my plan is to really try and keep my TBR more tight
Mhm.
next year.
I think that's something that Renee actually used to always do, and she used to talk about doing this a lot, was sampling. And
Uh,
this was something that I used to do a lot more of, and I would like to get back into the habit of doing, because I think that if you do this, especially if you're combining sampling with backlist books and frontlist books, you probably are going to find a natural cadence that is pretty balanced with what you end up reading. And that is something that I want to be more intentional about doing next year, now that I've had a couple minutes to think about it for a second.
yes, no, I think that's a good plan. And you're right. Renee is so good at sampling. I
And they're
assume
free on
she's
your
still
Kindle.
sampling. I know, and I never think to do it. I that is
Mhm.
something that I could definitely do more because then it's fun. I love the reading experience. I've said this before on the show where you pick up a book and like immediately you're like, "Oh, I'm into this." One of my picks today though, I actually did a rare sample for and I remember falling in love with it pretty quickly, but it was too long to pick for that particular episode, but I was happy that I was able to prioritize it today.
Yeah, there is something there's so much to say about the right book for the right time. One of my books that I am reading today, I previously I knew it wasn't a full DNF, but in the past
Yeah.
I said the same thing. I was like, "Not right now." And oh my gosh, am I so happy that I decided to pick it up again. I'm
Do you
excited to
keep
talk about these books now.
I know, me too. Do you keep a not right now list? Because if not,
No,
I feel like I should, you
but
know?
that is also partially because lists for me end up quite
Oh,
in
just
the
in the
ephemeral.
they're in the ether, they're in the universe, they're somewhere. Okay.
They're
No, I
somewhere out
do
there.
there's somewhere out there. I do have a DNF list on my phone, but I think I will start keeping a not right now because I know it in my
Mhm.
head, like when I see books, but I actually like that for an episode next year and not right now books that we
Oh, yeah.
choose that were just not the right book at the right time for whatever reason, but like they still exist and we should try and prioritize them.
That's a
So
good idea. Well, maybe I will start keeping a list of that too so that we can think about that for an episode in the future. Okay, so we read some books for this episode. Are there still books that you still want to read before the year is over that are either backlist or not a part of your current project that you're doing for the Goodreads Choice Awards and things like that? Do you keep a list of those books?
mhm. I do. I have them. They're on my TBR long list is sort of what I call it. And primarily these are books like I was thinking earlier that I know people have loved in 2025 and I want to sample them and I want to try them out and see if I'm going to love them like the other people do. And
Mhm.
most of these though are ones that you've already brought because I know you've brought them and so I'm like I can't, I don't want to prioritize them, but definitely towards the end of the year I hope to get to them. This includes The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson, My Friends by Frederick Bachman,
Mhm.
and The Bright Years that
Oh, I
I
think you're
can't
going to
think of the
love
author.
those.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I will too.
I have a post actually that I recently just put up
Ooh,
on Instagram, and I'm thinking about using this as kind of a visual list for me because that's something
I
that
love
never
that.
disappears, it never goes away, and using that as kind of a reference point so that I'm not constantly creating these lists and things like that in my phone. And so I think I'm going to try to reference that stack of books that I said and still want to read by the end of the year. I know I'm not going to read all of those by the end of the year, but I think that will be a helpful visual TBR stack for me when, sure enough, I know in a week or two I'm going to be yelling, like, what do I read?
Right,
Okay, I know
exactly.
I've got that visual
Hmm.
post that I can go look at and pick from some of those books, as well as look in the comments because I asked in that post, which one of these should I prioritize? And there were a couple definite standout favorites. So there are definitely some books from that stack that I am planning on reading by the end of the year. And I will link that post in our show notes in case you're curious about what I'm wanting to get into.
I was just going to say that we need to link to that. I remember seeing it pass through,
Mhm.
but yeah, I want to see which ones you end up selecting. But we are both, it sounds like we're both very excited about our
Yes.
books that we have picked for this. So I can dive into my first one, and that is You'll Never Know by Caleb Stevens. This is a thriller. It comes out, like I said, today, November 18th. And the reason I picked this up is because I saw it on TikTok a little bit and people were saying this is the best thriller they've read all year. And I was like, yeah, right. No, it's not. Like I was being such a hater for no reason. I mean, no hate to the creators. I was just like, was it really though? So for whatever reason, I think it was on whatever reason, I was like, you know what, let me just prioritize this. I was doing a lot of driving and I needed a thriller. And let me tell you, this delivered. This one is about Grant. And Grant Wilson has never been happier. He has a wife he loves, a home in the country, and a brand new baby on the way. But all of that shatters when two masked men abduct his wife, Avery, in broad daylight. And the instructions that Grant receives are bizarre. If he wants Avery back, he must solve a series of riddles that arrive one after the other, and the clock is ticking, with every piece of the puzzle becoming more outrageous and complex than the last. Grant knows he's playing a dangerous game, but he is determined to do whatever it takes to save Avery's life, even if it kills him. This book was everything to me. I gave it 5 stars very easily. It was so good. Caleb Stevens typically writes, or he used to write horror. So he kind of writes horror and thrillers. He's got both. And I think this is going to be his breakout book. This is in my top thrillers of the year, hands down. I was stunned and surprised at many points in the experience of reading this. This is very plot forward, but also not too plot forward where the characters feel like cardboard cutouts. They feel like real people. They feel like, folks you want to root for. The audiobook is great. You have multi audiobook narrators, and these are high, high stakes. I'm talking like very high stakes are at play here, and my heart was in my throat the majority of the time. I don't think you're going to be able to predict the entire plot of this. I was very surprised. Just know this is pretty gritty. I would not consider this a popcorn thriller. It does get pretty brutal. And I was like, at one point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can tell he writes horror because this is pretty horrific. So just know that. I can't tell you other things, I can't tell you specifics, but it had two of my favorite sub tropes in here that I love. And I love to see them when I see them. It was intense, it was emotional, and this is a book you will want to discuss with your book club, especially if your book club likes thrillers. So just know, like, don't just bring this out of the blue with people that you don't know. But if you know your book club or friends like to read thrillers, make this recommendation and read it together because this book is that good. This one is You'll Never Know by Caleb Stevens.
I love the point that you made of I think that at some point you're going to be surprised by something that happens, because I think that's an important distinction with thrillers, that even if something predictable happens, if you can be surprised by at least one or two elements in the story, it can
Mm-hmm.
make a wonderful thriller. So I'm glad this one pulled that off for you. My I'm trying to decide, do I want to bring like the real banger next,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
No,
okay.
no, lead with do the banger last.
Okay, okay, I'll do the banger last. However, this one was still a 5-star read. It is Persuasion by Jane Austen.
Excuse
Girl,
me?
this has been on my
Poetry,
TBR
Jane
for so
Austen?
long.
I mean, who is she? Who is she?
It's romance, though. It's a classic romance.
Oh, mhm.
And Persuasion is known to be one of the most beloved Jane Austen books, which I actually didn't know until reading this book and kind of diving into the lore. It is not necessarily her most popular, which probably goes to Pride and Prejudice, but Jane Austen lovers and readers love Persuasion. So I was excited to finally give this one a read. This is the story of Anne Elliot, who at the start of the book is around 27 years old. So she is a little bit old to be unmarried in her time. And Anne not only is 27 and unmarried, but she actually used to be in love 9 years ago. She was betrothed to Captain Frederick Wentworth, who is the great love of her life. But her family persuaded her to turn down the decision to marry him because he didn't seem like he was going to be wealthy enough and be a good match for her. And so we follow Anne after the fact, and she is still grieving this choice 9 years later. But Captain Wentworth ends up coming back into town. And the whole story goes from there. It's a pretty short book. My copy was 200 pages. I think it's one of the shorter of Austen's novels. And it's also one of the more melancholy. It has been years since I've read Pride and Prejudice. I almost don't feel comfortable saying I've read it because I it's been such a long time, but I have read it technically, and I've also seen pretty much every adaptation of all of the Jane Austen movies. So I'm versed enough in the Austen verse and feel like I can confidently say this one felt more sad in tone than her other stories, but it does still have, of course, that comedic touch that all of her stories have. There's so much yearning in this one, and with it being a second chance romance between Anne and Captain Wentworth, it was fun to see a trope that we still use today in such an older novel and see that trope kind of stand the test of time through this book and through their love story. I definitely agree with everyone that Persuasion definitely is one of the more romantic of her stories. And maybe that's recency bias for me, or the bias of having read the book and comparing that to a lot of her movies and TV adaptations. But there is a scene in this book with a letter and the dropping of a pen. If you know, you know. It literally had me passing away. It was so romantic and so, oh my gosh, it was just like, this is the most romantic thing I have ever read in my life. I love that Jane Austen's books still hold up so much to this day. She is witty, she is smart, and the writing here was just fantastic. It makes sense because this was the last book that she ever wrote, actually. And so it makes sense that it was kind of her best written work. I could definitely see that. Overall, I am so happy that I finally gave this one a read, and I now want to read more of her novels that I have loved TV and movie adaptations of so much, and that is Persuasion by Jane Austen.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that and you sold that really well. I'm like, maybe I should read that. Maybe I need to
Yeah.
add that to my long list. Of
Well,
course,
you do love a classic.
I do. I could be talked into a classic, especially one that sounds like it's,
I guess that's more what I meant, yeah.
yeah, I could be talked into one. I don't gravitate toward them typically, but of course, as one does, I'm like, well, how did she die? Like, I need to know. And she died when she was 41, and there's some speculation as to what caused it.
Yeah.
I wonder, is that why she stopped writing? Because that was like, I wonder if,
I think that she did die shortly after she
got
wrote
you.
this book. Like, I don't think that there was, I think that there probably were plans to write more, and then she died pretty early, and I think from my understanding, pretty suddenly. So
Oh, okay. Thanks for that. I have to know. I have this
I could
bad,
be wrong. I could be wrong. I
I
I did
know.
not do a bunch of research on that. That is just my, like, from what I have heard. And
Yeah, I think that's okay. Folks should know that we're not scholars of Jane Austen's work at this point. I have to do this thing though every time. I don't watch movies, but when I do, especially movies like around Christmas time, I have this morbid habit of Googling the actors to see if they are
oh,
still
uh-huh.
alive. I'm like, I need to know. Like, I need to know, and I also need to know how they died. I don't know why I do
Some
it.
is sometimes some is no for the Jane Austen books. Or I'm sorry, the Jane Austen movies and adaptations. Like, some of the
Yes,
actors are not
I
here with us
know.
anymore.
I know. I
Alan
know.
Rickman. He
I
was
do
like
know him.
the best Colonel Brandon.
I
So
don't know
good.
that reference, but
Oh, so many people that are listening will. I am confident.
be nodding their heads along. Well, you said that I love a classic, and
Hmm.
I would argue that this book is a classic. It is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry.
It sure
It
is.
sure is. Folks, this book has my heart. I'm holding it very tenderly because I love this book so gosh darn much. This is a love story, an adventure, and an epic of the frontier. Okay, so I had to take a pause there and try and get a synopsis of this because there really it really isn't one. They're just like, no, it's the grandest novel ever written about the last defiant wilderness of America, and I could totally agree with that because this book is set in a dusty little Texas town of Lonesome Dove, and you get to meet an unforgettable assortment of heroes and outlaws, ladies and women that were considered less ladylike, and as well as settlers and other people of the time. This book, okay, is the one that I was talking about earlier where I was looking for books that had staying power, I think, or something like that. And this one came up time and time again. So this is when I downloaded a sample and I was like, wait a minute, I love the beginning of this. Like, these two characters are cracking me up because you meet Augustus and you meet Captain W.F. Hall, and you can tell that they are longtime friends slash people that like to get on each other's nerves, and they're cowboys. So basically, what happens in this book is they decide to head to Montana and become cattle ranchers in Montana. But that is a long, long way from where Lonesome Dove is located in southern Texas. And so they basically take this epic journey from their comfortable, if a little bit boring lifestyle in Lonesome Dove all the way to their end goal of Montana. And that is really what this book is about. It sounds so boring when you say that. Like, okay, what am I reading? But it was riveting. And it had highs, it had lows, but what stands out to me the most about this book is the characters. I love them. When I read this maybe 2 weeks ago, or I finished it 2 weeks ago. And when I grabbed it again, because I knew I was going to talk about it on the show, I was like, oh, the boys, yay. I was like so happy to like pick it back up because I miss these characters already. Many folks have asked me, they knew I was reading this. They wanted to know if you can read this first. I say absolutely yes, because this is the first one he wrote, came out in 1985, but there are two that come after, and I think one prequel. So there's, I think, a total of four of these in the Lonesome Dove series total. And from what I understand from people, you don't have to read them in order. I would recommend just diving in with this one. I've added the other three to my TBR, my ephemeral long list. Someday I will like to read them just so that I can, I don't know, see these characters again. But from what I hear from people, you are more than able to just stick with this one and ride it out. I think this book was written in 19, in the 80s, but felt authentic to the time period without feeling, you know how sometimes you read older books, you're like, ooh, that's cringy. Ooh, I don't like how they said that. Like you wouldn't say that now.
Mhm.
This didn't give me that feeling. Like I felt like, okay, yeah, it's I'm laughing because I can hear Augustus' voice in my head because I did the audiobook for this, and he's just so flippin' funny. One of my all-time favorite characters. I recommend, if you are an audiobook person, absolutely grab the audiobook for this. It's narrated by Will Patton, who narrates a lot of Stephen King's books, and I love his voice. He does the entire thing, and it is a award-winning performance. I loved it so much. And that's all I have to say about that. I don't really watch movies, but I understand there is an adaptation and a television miniseries that has earned Emmys, and there, all sorts of other ways that you can engage with this text if you have not yet already. I also had a lot of people message me and say, oh, this has been on my TBR. So here's my plug to you to go ahead and pick this chunker up. It took me, don't laugh at me when you hear me say this. It took me a week to read. And for me, that's a long time, but it never felt
Yeah.
boring. I was never like, oh, let me pick this chunker up. In fact, I was sad when it was over. So I love this book,
Aw.
and I love my reading of it. It's Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry.
That is the best feeling when you finish a book and you're sad that it's over.
I know. Here's the
I know.
thumbnail.
Yay. Oh, I love that. That is definitely what I was alluding to when I said you love a classic,
Got
because
you, because
I
you
knew I
knew.
knew.
You knew. Okay, because I was like, since when have I brought classics? And then I was like,
I know.
literally right now.
I was didn't know if you were going to bring that one next, so I was like, maybe this is a good segue.
It was a good segue. I'm picking it up,
Okay.
15 minutes too late, but I'm here.
That's okay. That's okay. I am bringing next my favorite book that I have read in a while, and also what I think will eventually be a modern classic. So kind of fun that we're bringing Persuasion and then Lonesome
Yes.
Dove, which was the 80s.
And of course, the Caleb Stevens brutal thriller.
Sure, we
And
had to
then,
plug in our contemporary pick
I know.
and then wrap things up with this book that I believe will be a modern classic,
Hmm.
which is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell.
Love it.
Everybody who told me to read this book, I'm so sorry it's taken me this long. This story draws on Maggie O'Farrell's long term fascination and curiosity with the little known story behind Shakespeare's most enigmatic play, which is Hamlet. It is set in Warwickshire in the 1580s, and we primarily follow Agnes, who is a woman pretty feared by her community. She is also sought after because she has unusual gifts. She settles with her husband in Henley Street, Stratford, and has three children, a daughter, Susanna, and twins, Hamnet and Judith. The boy, Hamnet, dies in 1596, and we know this at the beginning of the novel. He is 11 years old. You know this at the very beginning that he isn't going to live. And then 4 years or so later, the husband writes a play called Hamlet, and the story follows the trajectory that gets us up into that point of him writing the play. Ultimately, Hamnet is a luminous portrait of a marriage, of a family, and at its heart, the loss of a beloved child. I am just going to gush about this book for 5 minutes because I will be shocked if this doesn't end up being one of my favorite books of all time. When I say this book had me weeping, I am not exaggerating. Dustin walked in at one point last week, and I wasn't even at the end of the book. I was around the 60-70% mark, and I'm reading this section of the story that is just so beautiful and so sad. And he looked at me as I was sitting on the bed weeping, and he just slowly stepped backward out of the room. And
Smart.
he was like,
Good
I
choice.
do not want to interrupt this moment that I was clearly in the middle of. Maggie's, we're on a first name basis. We'll just call her Maggie. Maggie's gift with words is unmatched, even down to the very first opening line, which beautifully lays out a foreshadowing of the plot's trajectory, even though it is just a few simple sentences about a young boy's movement down a set of stairs. Agnes is one of the most beautiful characters I have read from in a long time. She was so smart and lovely and had this stunning sense to not abandon herself while simultaneously being such a present and caring maternal figure. Watching motherhood happen to this woman and even the differences in her birth stories that were talked about with her two pregnancies, I was just so beautifully captured. This is genuinely a modern masterpiece. I see why it won the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2020. It is truly set apart. Thank you to everyone again who's been begging me to pick this up for the last 5 years. It's worth every single tear that was shed. And I am so looking forward to watching the film adaptation coming up around Thanksgiving. And that is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell.
Oh, I did not catch that this was being adapted. Somehow I guess now that you say it, I knew that.
Yeah, the
This is one on
trailer
my
looks
TBR.
really good.
Does it? This is
Mm-hmm.
one that's on my TBR, and I would love to read it. I read The Marriage Plot by her, which I really enjoyed, but I've got to read Hamnet.
Oh,
I think it's
okay.
been on my TBR since 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Same. I have read her memoir, I Am, which I
Mm-hmm.
also gave five
I read that
stars.
one
So
too.
she's a 2 for 5 stars for me. So I think she might have to be one of those authors for me that I read her entire catalog. Do I challenge myself to do that next year?
I
I
think
think
you
I might.
should. I think you
I
should. I
think
feel
I
like she has a
might.
lot of books, though. I don't
She
know.
does.
Does she?
Well,
Okay.
I don't think too many. Like I think I would maybe have to read 5 next year.
She's got, yeah. I just, of course, went to my favorite website of all time, fantasticfiction.com, of
Fantastic
course,
fiction. Yeah.
and naturally, as one does. And yeah, she's got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, she's got one
Okay, so
coming
I
out
would have
next
to
year.
read 8. No way.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
doesn't.
sure does.
Oh my
Sure,
gosh.
sure
I just
does.
started sweating.
Do you want me to bring it as my shelf edition? Would you like to hear about it?
I do want to hear about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's transition. I'll go into shelf edition. Right? Can we? Is it
Okay.
time?
It's time. Wait,
Okay.
yeah, it's
Okay.
time. At
Oh,
first, I forgot that you brought the Caleb Stevens book, but we
yes,
brought that
yes,
one. And
we
then
did.
yeah.
And
Oh,
then we
cool.
did Lonesome Dove. I just didn't have, okay. I didn't have much to say about Lonesome other than read it. I loved it. Okay. All right. So my shelf edition for Hannah is Land by Maggie O'Farrell. I don't believe we have a cover yet, cover to be revealed. This one's going to come out in June of 2026. Hannah's face is so funny right now.
I'm so
It
excited.
says, inspired by the mapping of Ireland in the mid 19th century, Land, the new novel from the author of Hamnet, is at once intimate and epic, a portrait of family navigating a legacy of upheaval and loss with love and hope. It's set on a windswept peninsula stretching out into the Atlantic. Tomas and his reluctant son Liam are working for the Great Ordnance Survey project to map the whole island of Ireland. The year is 1865, and in a country not long ago since ravaged and emptied by the Great Hunger, this task is not easy. Tomas, however, is determined that his maps will be a record of the disaster. The British soldiers in charge are due to arrive any day, expecting the work to be completed, but Tomas is unexpectedly set off course by an unsettling encounter with a corpse. His life and those of his
Stop
family
it.
will never be the same again. Liam's terrified. And because he's afraid because his dad's acting totally different. What is it that caused such cracks to open in Tomas? And how is Liam, aged only 10, going to finish the mapping and get both of them home? This sounds fantastic. It's a story of survival, and it's about separation, reunion, tragedy, and recovery, and a particularly loyal dog. So I think this one sounds fantastic. So everyone add it to your TBR now. This book is Land by Maggie O'Farrell.
Oh man, I want to throw up.
Pass away, throw
I'm
up.
so excited. I'm so excited. Okay.
Yay.
Well, I am also pretty excited about my shelf edition, which is called Would-Be by T. Kira Madden. This comes out in March of 2026, and it's a debut novel from the award-winning memoirist T. Kira Madden. She wrote Long Live the Tribe of Fatherless Girls, I believe
Mm-hmm.
was the title of it. That came out a few years ago. And this one follows three women connected through one man in the aftermath of his murder. So we're following Birdie, who knew nothing about Whidbey Island when she chose it, only that it was as far away from her life as she could get. She is a woman on the run. She's desperate to escape the headlines back home, her girlfriend's worried gaze, and Calvin Boyer, the man who abused her as a child and is now resurfaced. On the ferry, a stranger offers her a chilling proposition, a sinister solution, and a plan for revenge. But Birdie wasn't the only girl that Calvin harmed. We have Lindsay King, who was a former reality TV star and has written all about him in her best selling memoir. And though the women have never met, their stories are intertwined. When Birdie reaches Whidbey and finally opens Lindsay's book, she finds too much she recognizes. And across the country, Calvin's mother, Mary Beth, receives a shocking call from the police. Her only son has been murdered. Calvin's death sets off a chain of events that sends each woman searching for answers. It's told in alternate points of view and is a complex and perceptive whodunit that examines the long reach of violence and flaws in our systems of incarceration and rehabilitation. This sounds intense. It sounds really good. It sounds interesting. And I'm really curious about it. I haven't heard many other people talking about it. So we'll see when the time comes. It comes out in March. That's Would Be by T. Kira Madden.
I don't know much about this one, so I'm glad you brought it.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that is it for today. We want to hear from you. Tell us what books have been on your TBR for way too long. Have we enticed you? Has your TBR grown as a result of listening to this episode? But that is it for today. We thank you for spending a part of your day with us. Links to all the books mentioned can be found in the show notes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, you can help us by following wherever you listen and by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps us get our show out to new listeners and grows our audience. And don't forget, if you'd like access to exclusive bonus content and community, you can join us for $5 a month on patreon.com/booktalk, etc.
If you'd like to connect with us, you can email us at booktalk.etc@gmail.com. You can also connect with us both at Booktalk Etc. on Instagram and on YouTube. You can find Tina at TBR Etc. and Hannah at Handpicked Books. Talk to you next week. And in the meantime, remember,
everything's better with books. I was on Goodreads the other day, and you know how sometimes they have, like, when their website is glitching, or they'll give you like a quote to show you that like they're working on changing the page for you or something. The quote was, everything's better with books. And I was like, excuse me? Goodreads. That is ours.
That's our thing.
How dare you? And of
How
course,
dare
it
you
like
steal?
it like flipped too fast, so I couldn't like take a screenshot. But I was like, we made that up. That is not yours to have. But anyway, I guess we'll share.
Man, Goodreads. Come on. Do better.
Goodreads in many ways, right?
Do better as a just general statement, okay?
Uh,
Get with it.
Get with it.